All right, good morning, everyone. Yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining us for another meeting of the Informed Prostate Cancer Support Group. I hope everyone's having a great day, enjoying the last day of sunshine before another rainstorm. I want to extend a special thanks, as always, to the Stanford Burnham Prebys Medical Discovery Institute for giving us the use of this auditorium. And I was even just informed they're going to be making even more upgrades and renovations to this room. So we're going to have a wonderful brand new facility to meet in the coming months. I'd like to introduce the principals of the organization. We have Bill Lewis holding the door open right now, our president, and does the newsletter summaries. We have Jean Van Vliet, director and treasurer. Steve Pendergast, who I don't see here today, but he is our secretary and newsletter editor. Bill Manning, behind the video camera, is director and videographer. Myself, Aaron Lamb, director facilitator. We have John Tassi, webmaster, and Bill Bailey, who just walked in, who is our librarian. And I keep forgetting to add his name to this list, so I promise to try to get it up there for next time. And of course, there's you. We have well over 900 members in San Diego, throughout California, beyond our borders, given that COVID moved us online for a while, and we collected some people further out. So everyone is a volunteer, and you can be too. Are there any people here for the first time today? Please raise your hand. Excellent. We have, I think, five. Did everybody get the newcomer packet? Raise your hand if you did not get one and need one. All right, excellent. Please make sure to complete the cover sheet and return that either to me or to Bill or to Jean before the end, by the end of the meeting. That will trigger you getting a phone call this week to discuss your case, provide some additional information, help answer some questions that you might have. Bill and Jean generously offer their time for doing that, which is quite nice. The information kit also has a number of articles and booklets, as does our website, that will lead you into probably more information than you can handle at this point. All right, so we've seen who's here for the first time. Who's been recently diagnosed? All right, we have a few. And who have had prostate cancer for less than 1 year? Please raise your hand. All right, a few people still in the early stages. 1 to 4 years? Okay, a few more. 5 to 10 years? 11 to 15 years? And longer. Jean, how long? 18. Yeah, what you can see for those newcomers that saw these hands go up is that you have a long life ahead of you still. This organization is fantastic in uncovering for you all the latest and greatest treatments, helping you beat the odds of this disease. And in this next survey, especially you newbies, take a look around, see who's raising their hand. In terms of what treatments they've had. These are the people that you might want to go up to after the meeting and ask any of your own questions to see what their experience was with these treatments. So who has been under active surveillance? All right, and in fact, our speaker today will be talking about active surveillance. Who's had surgery? All right, quite a few of us. Radiation, whether it's proton, X-ray, brachy, very popular. Who's been on ADT or hormone therapy? Quite a few of us. How many have had chemotherapy? All right, a couple. You can see this guy's starting to have, his arms starting to get tired because it's been up the whole time. How many people have had new treatments like focal or immunotherapies, Afigo, Pluvicto? That's it. This is the man. And how many people have had recurrence where they've treated it, it's gone away, and now it's come back? Yeah, that is something that we face and why some of us are here as well. And who has decided on their future treatment? Excuse me, I think I said undecided on their future treatment. Yeah, again, where do we go from here? All right, I'd like to point out that we're all on Instagram. I haven't updated our followers list. Bill, have you looked lately? How many we're up to?
I'm sorry, I haven't looked either.
Yeah, we'll have to. Please sign up for Instagram, follow us, click on some posts and like them. It'll help get our word out there, our message out there. And we are on YouTube as well. This meeting and all the others are being recorded by Bill Manning. He edits them to fix all of the audio levels. He does a fantastic job of putting together these videos and puts a lot of time into making them as great as they are. And you can access all of these on YouTube. Note that it is the channel called @Prostate Cancer Support. Not necessarily IPCSG. There is something else that also comes up when you search for IPCSG. But all our videos are there. And we have a new Instagram video, which hopefully will play. All right, so our support to you comes in the way of the website. I assume that that's how a lot of the newcomers got the information so far. And on YouTube, as you can see there. You should also be getting the newsletters either via the website or by email or physical mail if you request it. These newsletters are fantastic. They a lot of work gets put into them by Bill Lewis and Steve Pendergast especially. They contain write-ups of the prior meetings. They contain new journal articles that are being presented with the latest and greatest research. They are a wealth of information for those seeking the latest information on prostate cancer. I highly recommend reading them. And they also have a few good cartoon jokes. And of course, there are our monthly meetings on the third Saturday of every month, just not in December. And we do have hotlines. Here's Bill and Jean's numbers up here. You can also find these on the website. And I remember when I first came to one of these meetings, I was stressed out to no end, and it was very helpful to talk to other members that day, as well as get a phone call, I think from Jean within the week to help just me get through what I needed to in order to continue my treatment. Other support to you comes in the way of a very inexpensive PSA test by Ulta. The link is there, and I'm pretty sure we have all these links on our website as well. There's also the Promise germline DNA saliva testing. That is free, no cost. That is a wonderful, I don't believe that it is considered a replacement for some of the DNA tests that an oncologist might recommend for you, but this is a wonderful first step if you are having difficulty getting that more extensive test covered by insurance. There's also the YMCA Livestrong Prostate Cancer Therapy Exercise Program that you can see here, and today we're going to hear about yet another exercise program, a little bit more personalized. We have an upcoming, this is, hopefully all of you made it to the UCSD Patient Summit just a couple of weeks ago. Last weekend? Last weekend. It was yet again a wonderful presentation by a lot of UCSD doctors and more. They had Michael Haynes, the NFL player, come and give the keynote speech. Wonderful chance to ask the UCSD doctors some information. Though I will admit that we get more extensive presentations from the likes of Dr. Rose and so forth than they had time for at that summit. It's a great comprehensive meeting. I'm certain they'll be doing it again next year. I highly recommend keeping it on your calendar. It's usually the first or second weekend in February, so keep your eyes open for that. And we do need volunteers. We need people to suggest and recruit new speakers. Please let Bill, Jean, or myself know if there's somebody that you think would benefit the group to hear from. And as with today being our member roundtable, we want our members to share their experience. So if you've gone through or been thinking about a lot of treatments and want to share your thoughts on your journey, please do contact us and let us know that you'd be interested in coming up here to speak. So our support group purpose is we share patient-focused experience on becoming your own case manager through informing, networking, and caring. We are a group of experienced participants, but we are not medical professionals, and any sharing by any one of our group may not be a substitute for your medical counsel. And we do need your support. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. That means that donations are tax deductible. There are no medical or religious affiliations. Our largest costs include the website, advertising, mailings, a Zoom video subscription when we have remote speakers. So please do make a donation. Think about what you paid to go and see a doctor, and then think about the value that you get from these meetings here today. Last month, if you were here for that meeting, just a great amount of useful information and that this organization provides. So we thank you for your gracious donations. Next month, we're going to have Dr. Michael Kipper. He's going to be speaking on PET-CT imaging technology. He's a clinical professor of radiology at UCSD. That'll be on March 16th. And for today, we have our member roundtable. We're going to start with Dennis Hickey, who will be talking about his active surveillance journey. We have Carla Going from North County Cancer Fitness and Don Wang as well. So with that, let me turn it over to Dennis Hickey.
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah. Hi, my name's Dennis Hickey, and
just a little bit louder.
Okay. Stand a little closer. There we go. How's that? All right. First of all, I'd just like to thank Aaron and Jean and everybody that's working with this group for their time and efforts in putting this together. There's actually a lot of behind the scenes that goes on and that we don't see, so I just wanted to thank them for that. I've started coming to the group meetings, you guys, I'm fairly recent in 2023. And Jean had called me back in December, asked me if I'd be interested in talking with everybody. And I had told him, well, I'm kind of at the beginning of my journey, and I don't have a lot of treatment experience yet. However, I have been watching under active surveillance, and Jean had told me, you know what, Dennis, we have members that are in all steps, all phases of this process. So we're always glad to hear from anybody that's willing to talk to us. And one reason I'm here is to learn from all of you, basically. This journey, I know I've done a lot of research. Everybody has their own individual story. And just this morning, I learned about another treatment that someone else is going through. So talking with you all, seeing how brave you are and your courage in getting through all this is inspiration, for all of us. And I appreciate everybody coming here and sharing their stories and willing to talk to us. I'm going to talk briefly about what I've gone through, beginning with my, I'm retired last year in 2022. I'm 61 years old. I'm still fairly active. I enjoy doing cycling. I do volunteer work and, see my friends and whatnot. I was diagnosed in 2022. I began watching I told my doctor years ago about my family history, and I do have a lot of my uncles had prostate cancer. My father had prostate cancer. He was diagnosed some 40 years ago, and he was a part of the greatest generation, I like to say. He was grew up during the Depression. He served in South Pacific during World War II. He retired as an NYPD police officer and went on to a number of careers, but he was basically my hero. And 40 years ago, he was diagnosed, and I remember back then that they had very little as far as imaging and whatnot goes. And we met with doctors at Cedars-Sinai Hospital, and they just told us, the Dr. Bender back then, he said, I'm going to go in there and remove everything. However, when I open him up, and if I see that the cancer has spread and it looks like it's, beyond anything we can do, I'm just going to sew him right back up. But luckily, because my father wasn't big on going to the doctor, he finally did, and we found all this out. So luckily, they went in, and he did have radical prostatectomy, and he lived for another 40 years. He was very active, and he did have some incontinence issues, I know. However, he did live a very active and productive life after having this surgery. So that's also an inspiration for me. He helped raise grandchildren and whatnot. And unfortunately, the cancer did come back later. He lived to a rightful old age of 91. And his cancer did come back. What happened was he was at a market, one of those markets you go to during the week to get fruit and whatnot, and he tripped on a curb. After that, they discovered cancer had moved into his bones. So he did put up a fight, but he did pass away when he was 91. So he did live a good life. But my journey, you guys, started, I started doing PSA tests more regularly in 2019. And my doctor noticed, I told him about my family history. He did notice my PSA levels starting to rise. And so I told him, and I did have the DRE, digital rectal exam, done at least once a year. And everything seemed normal. However, my PSA started to rise. So he sent me to a nurse practitioner in urology, and I spoke with them. And they said, yeah, let's get you in for an MRI based on your family history and see how what you're at, what's going on as far as your MRI goes. With active surveillance, just to make a note, you guys, basically active surveillance is you have cancer, and it's just a way to monitor everybody to decide if and when they should be treated, and have a regular PSA test every 3 months, and possibly a biopsy every other year. So that's kind of active surveillance, just keeping an eye on everything and seeing how things progress. With me, I had a first MRI. Let's see if I can do this. I had the first MRI in June of 22, and they did see a lesion that's 1.2 centimeter in size in the 4 o'clock position of my prostate. Although they didn't see anything outside the prostate, but the radiologist did say it was 1.2 centimeters in size, and they ranked it as PIRADS 4. So at first I was like, what is PIRADS? I never heard of this term either. Basically, a PIRADS is a score they give it. It's a rating scale from 1 to 5 used by radiologists to rate the likelihood of clinically significant prostate cancer. So he rated me a PIRADS 4, but so it kept an eye on things. And I talked to my urologist, Dr. Engel. And by the way, I'm with Sharp Healthcare. It's an HMO, all right? I've been with them for over 20 years, and they've been fairly good as far as treatment goes for other things I've had done on myself over the years. And my doctor's very good about staying on top of regular checkups and blood work and whatnot. But I did talk to urology, and we decided to go ahead and do a biopsy. I have heard stories about biopsies, but for me, the more information I can gather, the more comfortable I am about moving forward with treatment. I do know somebody who had a biopsy and then got an infection. So I was a little bit asking the doctor about that. This gentleman, I know he had an infection. He wound up getting septic, and he was in a hospital for a week because of the biopsy. But I did research, and that's something like that's very rare. So for me, having more information through a biopsy was worth the risk. All right. Now the biopsy I had was in August of 2022, and what they did was I was fully awake. I know another gentleman he kind of has his head in the sand a little bit, doesn't want to do biopsy, scared of biopsy, he just wants to forget about everything for a while, which I understand. But I was fully awake when they did my biopsy, and honestly, it wasn't too bad. They did lidocaine, and they put a lidocaine jelly in me, and they were asking me questions during the procedure, and they took 12 core samples from various parts of the prostate. And what happened was the doctor called me with the results, and what happened was 7 of the cores were positive for cancer, and 4 of them were 30% of the tissue was involved. So I knew, okay, so this is positive, affirmation that I do have prostate cancer. So how do I move forward now? So I started doing more research. They gave me a Gleason score of, 6. Now that's actually a good score. Gleason score, that's another thing. So what is a Gleason score? It's 2 numbers, 3 by 3 or 3 by 4. So I did a little research. I discovered a Gleason score. Basically, it's a grading system and how abnormal the cancer cells look under a microscope. So the samples they take, and after the biopsy, a pathologist looks at them under a microscope, and he grades your biopsy results, basically. He looks at the cancer cells. The first number is the grade that is most common in the tumor. So the first grade is the grade of the most common cell looking in the tumor. The second number is the second less common in the tumor. Now 3 by 3 grade, 3 by 3 means that all the cells pretty much look the same. So that one's actually a low score, 6. They usually grade score 5 to 10 usually. But yeah, 6 is a pretty good score. So I was pleased with that. Let's see, all prostate cancer scores are 3 or higher. The Gleason score of 6 is low grade, 7 is intermediate grade, 8 is high grade. So I was fairly pleased with that. I did more research, and basically in June of 23, that's almost a year later, not quite, I talked to my urologist. She said, okay, let's do another MRI just to see how you're doing as I progress through my active surveillance. And basically the second MRI, let's see, June of 23, turns out the lesion has grown. So it's now up to 1.5 centimeters. And with some bulging of the margins, without evidence of extra prostatic extension, which means it hasn't grown outside the prostate yet. But it is bulging the edges of my prostate. And the prostate is moderately enlarged, compatible with benign prostatic hyperplasia, which short is BPH. that term, short term, is BPH, which many of you are probably familiar with. It means your prostate gets enlarged, and it means you're getting up in the middle of the night to go to the restroom more than you used to. And there are medicines for that. My doctor talked about taking Flomax, so I did try taking that. Although I'm not know if it kind of makes you a little drowsy and affects people in different ways. So I'm not sure if I'm actually going to stay on that. But it's helped a little bit. And I did more research as to far as coming here and talking to the doctors, seeing where can I go from here. Now that I know I have this issue, And my neurologist said, yeah, you're going to have to do something within the next few years. But how long do I wait? And when do I, actually move forward and do something about it? So what I did was, I did a lot of research. I looked at the videos from here online. I was very impressed with the UCSD team. Dr. Rose, all the other physicians that come in. I saw videos of Dr. Rossi talking about proton therapy. So I just told my urologist, you know what, I want to go ahead and do a proton therapy. Because I went and took a tour of their facility. It seems like it has the less side effects than radiation or prostatectomy. I mean, prostatectomy is fine, but I know there's issues with incontinence and ED, erectile dysfunction, and radiation. There's issues with gastrointestinal problems and bowel problems. That's a potential problem there. So I talked to my doctor. I said I took a tour of the proton facility. I talked to Dr. Chang, who's one of the doctors over there, and that was wonderful. You can actually go there. There's a seminar they have. They take you around. You listen to them talk for a while, and you can talk to patients that have gone through it. You can talk to other doctors there, and I was really surprised. They actually treat 60, 70 patients a day over at the Proton Center. And I saw UCSD's name on the wall, so UCSD actually uses them. And so I figured, okay, that sounds good. And I remember one of the members in here, one of the classes said, why doesn't everybody do proton therapy? It sounds like it's the way to go. And one of the reasons is cost. It's a lot of the insurance companies, they don't want to cover proton because they say it's experimental, even though it's been around. You talk to Dr. Rossi, it's been around for years. But a lot of insurance companies are looking at the cost saying, for us, it's, a lot more expensive than, regular radiation therapy. So I met with my urologist. She put in a referral for proton therapy. And unfortunately, she put in a request in November, and then I got a call from the Proton Center saying your insurance is denied the therapy. So a lot of this trip so far has been kind of disappointing. I was disappointed the Proton Therapy Institute called me and said I was denied. So then I called, I waited for a letter. A couple weeks later, I finally got a letter from my insurer saying, yes, you're denied. And on the letter, it says medically unnecessary. So they go through a few pages of why it's medically unnecessary. So I think a lot of it's the cost. And when I talked to the Proton Institute, they told me that you basically, when I was there, I talked to insurers that worked there, and they were very helpful because I knew something like this might come up. And when they called, they said you have three options, basically. You can pay for it yourself, which for you probably be between $40,000 and $60,000. Or you can switch insurance plans, which I have the option to do in December. Or you can appeal the decision, but that's, every now and then they might have a successful case for doing that. But as far as switching insurance, I told my primary doctor, I could switch to UCSD and probably get on board with proton therapy possibly. There's no guarantee that they will do that, but it's possible I could do the proton. But I've been with my doctor for over 20 years. My wife has the same physician, so I was reluctant to switch, just based on that. We've known him for so long. He knows all about our issues and whatnot. So what happened was, I was denied that, so I talked to my urologist. And basically after coming here, I also learned that you should probably talk to as many physicians as you can and get second opinions. So I told my urologist, I want to talk to oncologist. Okay, I'll see what you guys can do. And I did go talk to an oncologist at Sharp. It's Dr. Let's see. Oh, let me backtrack a little bit, you guys. When I was here at one of the meetings, I did talk to Dr. Munt, Dr. Siebert, or Dr. James Urbanek and Brent Rose at UCSD. And I did talk to them a little bit about radiation therapy. But I did talk to, I did get the referral for oncology, finally. They put it through. They have, seems like the HMO, they have to refer everything, and you have to be approved. And at the meeting with here, after talking to the doctors, I learned of something called the Decipher test. This is a test, they test it's a genetic test. So I told the doctors that were here, there's two types of tests. You can, based on your family history, or they actually look at the tumor. So I said, you know, I know I have it's genetically in me to have this. So I'd rather do the Decipher test. And what the Decipher test does, it looks at 22 genes and has been shown to predict the risk of prostate tumor spreading, metastasizing. The studies have been funded by the National Cancer Institute and published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, showing this Decipher test actually has a pretty good predictor of how this cancer may spread. So I learned of this test actually here at one of the meetings, and I talked to the doctors here, and they said, based on, no, go ahead.
Sorry.
They said, based on what you've told us, it's really strange that your Gleason score is 6, yet the pathologist puts your tumor at PIRAD 5. So I think a Decipher test could help you, get a little more information. They said the reason pathologists may have put your PIRAD so high is because they already know from your previous biopsy that you have cancer. So I thought, oh, okay, so the pathologist knows you already have cancer. That's why maybe they put the PIRADs, the lesion score so high. So I talked to my oncologist about getting a PIRAD, their Decipher tests, just so I can get more information on how to proceed. Basically, if it shows it's very, aggressive, I'm going to do something right away, a lot faster. If he says, you have a very low score, some of the doctors I talked to here say, you might be able to hold off for a few years, based on, how things progress. So I talked to oncology. He talked to my urology, who put in a referral for doing a Decipher test. And I told my oncologist, you know what? I know the lesion's right on the edge. It could break out tomorrow. It could break out 5 years from now. So I know I'm going to have to do something. And if I don't do anything, it's just basically I'm kicking the can down the road, I know. So I'm just trying to learn as much information as I can before I proceed. And I asked him, can they do the Decipher test based on the previous biopsy I had 2 years ago? He said, actually, we do keep the samples. However, you can get another one. Are you willing to do that? And I thought, oh, great, another biopsy. So I told him if it really helps get fresh samples, and I'll go ahead and do it, because I did it before, it wasn't too bad. And, I'll go ahead and do it so I can have more information and decide what to do next. So what I talked to oncology, they talked to urology, they put in another referral for a Decipher test, and I got a letter like last week or week before denying a Decipher test. So it was the same thing they wrote in the letter, basically saying it's medically unnecessary. So based on the Sharp Medical Group and their physician reviewer, they're saying that under my circumstances, the test is medically unnecessary. So I talked to them, and I looked at the letter, and you can file an appeal. You can have your doctor do a peer-to-peer appeal with their medical reviewer. So that's what I've asked to be done. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've asked for a doctor to appeal that, and that was submitted last week. Basically, she's putting in for an appeal, so I can see if I can get that test done. So that's kind of my journey up until now. And what I've learned is by coming here, I'm learning all kinds of different techniques, and there's new imaging coming up, and it's been very helpful coming here and talking with all of you. And that's why I think the roundtable like today is going to be very helpful. But yeah, I've learned so much just talking with the doctors that you guys have brought in and doing research and coming to the meetings and talking to you all, because I know a lot of you have been through a lot more than I have. So the more I can learn from you, I think the more it's helpful for me making a decision on how to proceed next. All right. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Dennis. Why don't we take 2 questions if we have any questions for Dennis, and then we'll go on to the next speaker. Hang on, I'll bring the microphone to you.
Okay.
Dennis, great presentation. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
My question's for you. I asked this to my doctor because I'm doing active surveillance also. And I asked this to my doctor and I asked this to everybody in the room. Does anybody know anyone who did active surveillance and then regretted doing that?
What I've read is most men who do active surveillance, they most of them, there's a large percentage of them that actually proceed with something within 5 years. So I don't know of anybody that has regretted doing active surveillance and waited too long, but I've heard stories about folks that kind of like have ignored it, and basically you don't want it to get too far along. I talked with Dr. Chang at the Proton Institute, and he said, Dennis, people we do have PSA above 10, we start thinking about doing hormone therapy as well as the proton treatment. So there was a gentleman I talked to at the Proton Therapy Institute. He had the same exact conditions as me, 5.5 PSA, family history. He got the proton done in, and he said his PSA was down to 0. So that's why I was impressed.
I want to add to the answer to that question. Perhaps what people do regret is inactive surveillance. And that's what I had, because my doctor had basically told me, oh yeah, you have a PSA of 9 to 11, like you're too young to have cancer. And then he kind of, was planning all the tests and doing things, and, essentially what I would have normally done as an active surveillance participant, but he was making the decision that I didn't need treatment when in fact I did by having a PSA that high. By the time I actually did something actively about it, my PSA was I think 15 or 16 when I had my biopsy. It was 19 when I had my operation, and it was stage 4 at that point. So the key thing is to be active and making your own decision about when you want to pursue treatment.
Yeah, you definitely have to be your own advocate. I'm learning. When I first talked to my primary doctor about, I do have prostate cancer, first thing he said, take it out. Like just like that, take it out. Okay, that's easy for you to say. You're young and healthy,
So in terms of figuring out whether the cancer has spread, has anybody recommended to you a PSMA test?
Not yet. Yeah, I have heard about that test during the meetings here, but nobody has recommended that yet. I was very impressed with my oncologist, Dr. Fossey. I had a list of questions, and I asked the administrator there when I walked in, how long does he have with me? And he said he has allotted an hour for you. So I was impressed with the oncologist, that at least he did talk to me about radiation. He showed me slides of how it does affect some of the organs. My treatment, he said, based on what I have, he would not recommend getting it. Some people get quick treatments. It takes just a few, 2-3 weeks. But he said, no, I would extend yours to probably 6 to 8 weeks. Based on what you have, we might as well take it slowly, and if I decide to do that.
All right, we'll have time for more questions at the end. Let's make sure we have plenty of time for all the presenters, though. So we're going to, thanks again, Dennis. And we're going to move next to Carla Going. Check to make sure that.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me? All right, that's me on the left. with short hair, probably about 7 years ago or so. I had stage 3 endometrial cancer. It's a type of uterine cancer, and I'm now an 8-year survivor. And so I'm also with Patty Marmon, who's with North County Cancer Fitness. I'm actually the president. She's a board member, and we're here to talk to you today about our program and what we do. But I exercise with that group about 4 days a week. So how many in here do have a regular exercise program that you follow and do? Good, good. So maybe preaching to the choir today, but anyway, it's all good. So thank you so much for inviting us. John Cotter, I guess, was the one who said, come on and take a look at what we do. So that was great. Deb Snyder was our founder in 2010, and she was a breast cancer survivor. She did pass, 2017, I believe. She's the one in the yellow down here in the front, too. The gal next to her on her right also took over. She was the vice president of North County Cancer Fitness, took over after Deb passed away, and then she passed away a year and a half later. So then we were kind of without leadership, and I was on the board at that time, so I kind of stepped up and said, I'll do it if we want to keep going. So I've been doing it now since then, and Deb started it because she was a soccer player, runner, and into sporting goods. She was a professional sporting goods person, and so she did the whole thing. She had, like I said, she had breast cancer that metastasized, and so, but she was such a great gal. I only knew her for about 6 months before she passed. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for people affected by cancer through programs of fitness, education, and social connection. Our vision is to build a community of hope, healing, and support for those newly diagnosed in treatment and recovering from cancer. If you come to our group, we have a website, northcountycancerfitness.org. At the very top, it says join us. We are a free program. We get donations through people that come to us over the years. We also have fundraising events and whatnot. But if you have cancer and you did want to work out with us, there's just a form, join here, and you fill that out. We just want to know a little bit about you. If you are 6 months out of treatment, you do not need any kind of physician referral. You can just come along. If you have never exercised before, or you have any of the 3 conditions up there, cardiac, respiratory, orthopedic, we might ask that you see a physical therapist or a personal trainer or someone, or certainly we would ask you, if you're still in treatment, to get a permission from your physician to work out with us. Our fitness classes are, we get free studio space from EOS Fitness, which is in Encinitas. There's also an EOS Fitness in, okay. There's also an EOS Fitness in Oceanside. We have had classes up there as well, but after COVID, they got so busy that everybody came back, so now they didn't have any free space to give us. But now, after COVID, we were in the park for so much time, everybody wanted to stay outside and work out. So we don't even go to EOS all that much anymore, but they do have space for us still. If we have classes in the afternoon, we get some space. So we work out outdoors on the Village Park Greenbelt, and we are expanding to Carlsbad, Oceanside, and Vista next month. We're going to add a couple classes up there, and we already have 2 up there as well. We have a variety of classes, different kinds. I'll show you on a next slide. But we have also 8 workout videos that are on our website. So if you stay at home and you want to work out, you can also do that. This is our class schedule with all of our trainers when the days of the week that we work out. And if you sign up with us, you can automatically get our newsletter. It will come to you, and so you could always have that. And you could also know what's going on, in the cancer community, because we also put out some events like that, and we have some of our own events. But that is our schedule. We have our trainers. What makes us different is we have cancer exercise specialists, people who have been trained. Our trainers have been trained. We provide scholarships to get trained in cancer specific, to help just cancer patients. That's why, this designation is considered the gold star standard by the American Council on Exercise and the American College of Sports Medicine. One of our priorities is to get all 6 of our trainers certified. Right now we have 3 of them that are certified and 1 that's still in the process of getting certified. But we also are trying to get some new trainers, and we'll have them go through the same program. We offer scholarships for this training, so it's kind of an incentive for people who are trainers that may want to get that. All of our classes, like I said, are donation-based, and they're small enough that you can get extra help. Sometimes our classes may have like 10 people in them, so it's small that you can get extra support. They have all kinds of alternative moves and whatnot if people are not, feeling that great. We have a gal that's got stage 4, actually 3 people that have stage 4 cancer that work out with us on a regular basis. So we, you don't have to feel self-conscious or anything because we're all in the same boat, right? Oops, sorry, I keep going over there. All right, we also, besides just the exercise, we offer monthly educational, social support and events throughout the year. We had this gal at the top here. She was through the Chopra Center, but she came and did a complete meditation on laughing. So it was the most hysterical thing. We probably had 20 people on this event, and it was so great. And we have, we just finished up a 2024 Vision Board party, and we had an annual chili cook-off, and these are all the other things that we do. I just stuck some pictures in there. We have picnics and films, and we run in the Padres Pedal 5K. Expressive arts, we made soup together last Halloween, which was really fun. We have a monthly Mahjong group. We had a ladies makeover party. We have fundraisers. We have Fashion for Fun fundraisers, and someone donates this big basket full of cosmetics and all this, and so somebody buys it and then they offer it back to North County Cancer Fitness, so that's been really fun to do. Our last fundraiser we did in Encinitas, we made $10,000, and the year before we made $18,000. So we, do to help raise funds for our program besides getting our donations from folks that, do. We also got Best of North County. In the Coast News last year, they did a Best of in North County, and we won first place. So that was really exciting to do. This is what I don't know a lot about prostate. You guys all know more than I do, but I just wanted to put these bullets up here because I read 2 articles, and this is kind of what I got out of what I had read. Exercise is the only known complementary therapy based on research that improves survival rate. And I know earlier when Aaron put up all the treatment, well, we didn't see exercise there, did we? We saw chemotherapy and radiation and all that stuff, but exercise is really, really important. It improves your overall quality of life, decreases fatigue, increases your mood, can reduce heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and all common in men with prostate cancer, or anybody for that matter. May reduce the risk of occurrence and progression, helps to tolerate radiation and chemo. Androgen deprivation therapy also increases the risk of bone disease, as we've heard earlier, osteoporosis, but with weight bearing and strength training, that can be prevented or helped to prevent. ADT also decreases your physical strength, as you all know, causes muscle weakness, especially pelvic floor muscles. So, and if you have surgery or radiation, you may experience urinary incontinence, which you also know jumping and bouncing and that kind of stuff that's a challenge. But you can always ask your doctor how much and what kind of exercise is right for you personally. Just another one, prostate cancer loves couch potatoes because exercise can decrease your risk, again, of getting a lethal prostate cancer or of having cancer come back if already treated. June Chan, who I read was a world-renowned expert on lifestyle and cancer in the University of California, San Francisco, observed a 60% reduction in risk of dying of prostate cancer in men who perform vigorous exercise 3 times a week. Now, I'm a moderate exerciser myself. I do 4 days a week. But that was actually research. There's lots and lots of research out there. If you go out there on the web, you can find anything. The biggest benefits are observed in men who are relatively sedentary. So there are people out there who don't exercise and who, if they would adopt a moderate exercise program, it would be much better for them. Doing a little more each time, more than you could do, and then a little more, and slowly building up. Medical oncologist Jonathan Simons is a doctor who's in the same study I read about, says prostate cancer may be the most common cancer where exercise, like a drug, can confer an increase in survival. There is no form of treatment that has this effect. Exercise gives cancer a better blood supply, keeping it happy where it is. So the tumor has no motivation to move on to getting to a better growing environment. Fat increases inflammation and lowers insulin resistance, making a more inviting environment for cancer. So those are just, like I said, I read a couple articles just because I know you're all prostate cancer guys, and I thought, well, I'll just add that. This are just some pictures. We take a lot of pictures of stuff we do. That's our workout outdoors and stuff. But if you would if you would like to do any of these things, improve how well you use your body to do things, which even with, prostate cancer and any kind of cancer comes with when you're at an older age. And these things are all things we are affected, even if you don't have cancer. So if you want to improve any of those things up there, then exercise would be your number one way to do it. And let's see. This I got from the American College of Sports Medicine. It's their exercise is medicine. It's actually, they believe that exercise should be prescribed by your physician. I had the experience when I got done with my cancer treatment. Out the door I went, nobody said anything. You guys might have been in the same boat. Nobody mentioned exercise. And my sister had breast cancer. They told her that she could avoid taking this medication if she exercised every single solitary day, which she did. And so she ended up being okay. And Patty also had breast cancer, and she got into exercise right away. Her nurse practitioner, who is our medical advisor, told Patty to come. But you can see here, aerobic activity, 3 or more days a week. There's all kinds of aerobic. We get some aerobic in our classes, but you can also, of course, run and walk and, swim, bike, all those things. And then muscle strength training 2 days a week is very, very important as well. So that's that. And how do I play this video? I have 2 videos I want to show you. This is one of our trainers. He's been with
I love
us
being
10,
in the gym.
10
I've
years.
been a gym rat since I was a kid. I love helping people who are passionate about the same thing that I am. Everybody who's in this class is very thankful to be here and very thankful for me putting on the class. It just makes me feel like I'm really contributing to something bigger than myself. Well, obviously, if you have someone who's been through cancer, as a cancer survivor, their needs are very different. So I'm trying to get them feeling that they can still come in and work out, even whatever injuries they have, or they can still come in here and just pick their arms up a couple times, no matter what level they are, even if their goal is just standing up out of a chair. I think that when you come into a class, you may have had a rough weekend, you can put that all behind you and come in here and work out with some people that are really fun to work out with in a really positive environment. Yeah, it just feels good to give back to people who really need the help.
And then we have one more. It's right here.
Well, I became involved with NCCF when I was working on my doctorate. And the literature tells us that everything patients do often makes them feel good, but the only thing that confers a direct survival benefit is exercise. And so by participating in a program such as NCCF, patients are able to experience that holistic approach to feeling better, as well as those networks that used to be met with the traditional support groups. And for those who have never exercised in their life, they can feel welcomed, and they can also exercise at the level and experience a health and benefit that no other therapy can give them. If we get people up and going early and moving, their survival and the way they feel is going to be tremendously improved.
Okay, I wanted just to thank you all for being here and for having us here. It was really great, and we have out on our table out there lots of little things that you can take with you. Patty, if you haven't picked up one of the little half sheets and you're interested at all in our program, we were thinking maybe we would start a men's program. I mean, not a men's class, at least 1 or 2 or whatever, but we need to know how much interest that there would be. You're also always welcome to come to the women's groups because we have a lot of women. We have men come in and out. John goes to our classes. But, they don't always stay because it's all women, so we were really trying to get men to start coming to our classes as well. So if you give us that little piece of paper back, we'll be sure to, contact you. And if we have enough, we're in North County, though. What's that?
I can hand them out now.
Yeah, she'll hand them out now if you'd like to sign up. Questions?
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. Before we go on to questions, I want to make a couple of comments. There was, some of you might have heard of the drug metformin being prescribed along with treatment when you're perhaps on ADT. And, there's a fantastic benefit from reducing your blood sugar level and essentially everything that metformin does for you. So a lot of diabetics that are overweight are prescribed metformin. However, that same study said, oh yeah, and by the way, if you exercise and follow a good fitness routine, you actually even get better benefits than taking this additional drug. So, this is an excellent program. I think, exercise is definitely the way to go for improving your outcome. And the second thing I want to mention is that, when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer at 42 or 43 years old, the sexual side effects was definitely foremost on my mind. And especially after surgery, having only learned after the fact about some of the physical side effects that take place, it was when I was sitting across the table from a woman the same age as me who had just had a double mastectomy that I started to realize, hey, women also have this disease that they deal with, where they have their own sexual identity, pulled into question, and it became so, not in the Schadenfreude sense of like, oh wow, well, this person's suffering as well, but just to see the acceptance from other women for my condition, it was incredibly reassuring and very helpful to me mentally. So this seems like the perfect organization. And if you need, further, let's see if we can get back to what I was thinking of. If you need further motivation, take a look at these beautiful ladies that you'll get to work out with. So I certainly hope you take advantage of this program. So let's do some questions.
Thanks, Aaron. I don't have a question. I have a testimonial. I go to this group, and you can't have two more lefter feet than my two left feet. Okay, so I take a Zumba class with them and yoga, and I haven't explored the full range of other activities. They have an outdoor fitness class at a local park in Encinitas that the gentleman who gave the talk in the video, I think he guides that class. I have yet to take that. The point is this. This is a program that is a donation-based program, very much like our group here. And I've been accepted. I'm the only man in the classes that I take. Nobody has made me feel weird being there. And I'm pretty crusty anyway, so I wouldn't care how they felt. I'd just go anyway. But the point is, like Dennis said, you have to be your own self-advocate. And so for me, this is one form of that advocacy. If you live anywhere near Encinitas, or if they have my yoga classes in Vista, but the group is trying to expand into other, at least North County communities at this point. And so, many of you come from all over the county to come here. So in my mind, it's no different making that same effort to go there. So you might give it some thought. Thanks.
Thanks. I think you had your...
I had a question for Dennis. Is he still taking?
Let's do the questions for Dennis at the very end.
I'm just wondering if there's any emphasis or specificity on what kind of cancer, specifically prostate versus, for men, breast for women, that you reorganize your, okay, the answer is no.
Well, the answer is no, because we're all in this with cancer of all types. I mean, we have probably, I'd say, at least 60% are breast cancer patients, but all the rest of them, we have blood cancers, lung cancers, uterine cancers, all kinds. And so prostate would just be another one. And so we really honestly don't talk a lot about our cancers, but we've gotten to be really, really good friends because I've been with this group for 8 years and we do all these functions together, and I go exercise because I go see my friends. And that's what keeps me coming back, because I don't think I would be motivated on my own to do it. I was never really somebody that went and worked out a lot, you know. But after I got cancer, I got with this group, and it's just like now it's just become such a habit, and that's been 8 years going. So anyway.
Yeah, and you know, one of the other things that's prescribed when we're on ADT is to remain active, you know, mentally. And so, you know, a lot of these other activities that the group does sounds like the perfect opportunity to keep that socialization and mental activity going if you're otherwise not getting that type of stimulation. All right, so we're just past 11 here, so I want to move on to our third speaker, Don. And we'll take more questions at the end because, yeah, we'll have some time at the end for everybody. So, Don, would you please come up?
Okay, good morning, all of you. Thank you for coming. My prostate experience started with frequent urination in the middle of the night. That was when I was about 63 or 64. And as a person who never had much medical insurance, I had medical insurance last in 1988 when I was a Teamster member, and after that I've worked on my own, so I never bothered. And then so when I was 63, I noticed, prostate cancer kind of creeps on you kind of slowly. And my only symptom was urination. And so in the middle of the night, I used to get up maybe once, but noticing that I started getting up 2 or 3 times, and then the stream was required a lot more effort, then I realized there was something wrong. So I went to some free clinics. They gave me digital rectal exams, but it was inconclusive. So I happily waited till I got Medicare at age 65, which is about 4.5 years ago, and then that started the whole ball rolling. So basically, this one.
Yeah.
Okay, this is, my whole medical record is just a few pages. But this kind of shows you, when I first went in for my medical exam, when I got on Medicare in 2019, September, it was already in its mid-80s or higher than 80. And then they offered me almost immediately, come in for your biopsy next week, and the following week we can schedule you for surgery. I said, I'm a big procrastinator, so I said, well, how about some other tests first? And it was just my way of, procrastinating. So they gladly gave me the test right away. They gave me the MRI, bone scan, any other thing you could think of. And I didn't know what that was, so I read a book that happened to be in the library that day, and it's out on the front table, The Invasion of the Prostate Snatchers. And this book is kind of unique in that it's written by basically a layperson, right? And not by a medical doctor or by a health professional. And so the gist of the book was, it was kind of a do-it-yourself thing, and be aware what the situation, active surveillance. And then to make a long story short, he passed away in his early 80s. But I think a very famous doctor from Southern California, I think some people here may know him too, co-wrote the book with him. So, it does have some legitimacy. But I've always been a do-it-yourself kind of person. So I said, well, I'll consider waiting a little bit longer. So as you see, 2020, I went in, I had, early 2020, I had all my tests. And then I wasn't convinced, so I took some more tests. I went to Ulta, exactly what this group prescribes. I went to them about 2 or 3 times. One's for a testosterone number, which I scored right in the middle. And then a couple of more PSA tests, complete PSA tests, and then just a regular PSA test. And both of them came right within a few points, of the test that Kaiser gave me. I had Kaiser HMO. So it was, I was rather assured by that time, it was already over 100, that something was going on. By 2021, I was trying to make a decision one way or another. And then that was, of course, when COVID hit. So everything shut down, and then the first thing they would ask you when you went to the hospital is, have you had your COVID test? Well, I procrastinated on my COVID test up to now. So, I didn't go to see the doctor. And then 2022, completely, I didn't even bother once. I think I went to the, for my one test, battery test with another health insurer, because they were 2-3 blocks away from me near downtown LA, and Kaiser was like 3-4 miles away. So I had a battery test, but I switched right back to Kaiser in 2023 because they took 3-4 months to make an appointment with your primary. So I went back to Kaiser, and then within a couple months, I had my spike up there. Although the previous December with my battery test, it was still in the ballpark, it was going up a little bit. But the spike up there, 560, I started taking a little bit notice, and then I got ready with my other tests. So that's basically the exact thing I see in my medical records, okay? So if you can read that, you'll see that, like, I had, bone scan, MRI. They basically came back affirmative for something very, very serious. And with a score of, I think it was 560 somewhere for the PSA, they sat me down and, determined to do something with me. So through a whole series of doctors and them talking to me, I finally said, I'll accept ADT, which was basically a Lupron shot once every 3 months. And then I thought it was, Aaron, I thought it was Zytiga, but they actually gave me this abiraterone. Okay, Zytiga. Okay, so it's, okay, my mistake. It's 250 milligrams of that, prednisone 5 milligrams, and a shot every 3 months because I couldn't go every month. I mean, something in me just doesn't allow me to do that. And actually, given the circumstances, they had offered me Xtandi, which is another drug. Initially, I turned it down because it required a $3,000 payment out of pocket, even with Kaiser Insurance. So when I mentioned the dirty word Indian pharmacy, they said, well, here's the other choices you can have. We definitely, basically, they definitely don't want you to go out of their system. So I used Casodex for about a month and a half, and Xtandi for about 1 month, and then finally the Zytiga for since then. And that's when it jumped down to the 1 to 2 range, or 2 to 3, 4 range. Okay, so that's where I'm at as of yesterday. And but they warn you. They say, well, this ADT may not last, and it could climb again, your PSA count. And I was just noticing that last month when I was out of state on business in Ohio, I had missed this talk about bipolar androgen therapy. So that's of great interest to me now. So I'm on probably one half of that path, the androgen therapy, and now there's even an enhancement to that therapy. So let's get, oops, did I press it too long? I just,
Yeah, that was the last slide.
okay.
Oh,
No.
no, there we go.
Yeah, okay, that's the, is that the bone scan? Yeah, I think it is. And so you see, okay, I have all the tests, but I'm still not totally up to par because the first things they offer you, the androgen deprivation therapy was the last thing they offered you. The first things they offer you is surgery, and then radiation, then chemo. Then when I rejected all of those, they said, oh, well, how about just trying this androgen deprivation therapy? So because they sat me in there so long, I was kind of embarrassed to take up all their time. I decided to go with that. And so my PSA dropped subsequently, like I said, from 560 to in the below 4 range. And actually, I skipped out on half of the Zytiga because I was out of town for a month, so I really didn't take that for the past month or month and a half. And the last dot you saw on the thing was, I think, at about less than 3. So I'm still keeping my fingers crossed, and I'll be trying to pick up pointers from all of the survivors here as to when I make the deep dive into some more serious therapy. But like I said, I have no, biopsy. I said, well, if I have it, I have it. What's the point of the biopsy, right? And I also, in year 2022, I believe, during the height of the COVID, I saw something at UCLA for a PET scan, right? So they were offering a free PET scan, so I gladly hopped on over there for my free PET scan. And to access the PET scan, Kaiser, I signed away all my rights, so Kaiser can see it from UCLA, and UCLA can access my Kaiser records both ways. And so my doctor sees the PET scans, but I don't have the software to see it. I just glanced at it a little bit in his office, but I could see the scans myself a little bit. And if you pay at Kaiser for your own copy of your MRI, you still do need better software, because what they give you is a very, very rough, DVD, and you'd have to have some kind of special software to view it as they would on their computer. So that's the only thing. So far, that's pretty much my entire experience with it.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing your journey. We're of course really happy to see that your PSA did drop from the high level that it was down to something more reasonable. Does anyone have any questions for Don?
It's really difficult to read the writing of the tests that you received. I'm curious, did the cancer spread to your bones?
According to that, there is that possibility, according to the bone scan. If you read it carefully, I could send it to you. But when they phrase something in the medical records, they always make it kind of, inconclusive. So I think just to cover themselves, but it does allude to that.
Yeah, that text is incredibly hard to decipher in terms of what it's actually saying. I actually, I was mentioning before about sitting across the table from somebody with breast cancer. I actually had a close friend who was also going through breast cancer treatment, diagnosed within a month of me being diagnosed. She is more of a medical, semi-professional, I'd say, and helped me to decipher what it was that all this language said.
I'm curious about your side effects from hormone therapy.
Well, I know what hot
specifically
flashes
without
means
too
now.
much graphics.
Yeah, I never had a hot flash in my life, okay? And when my ex-wife mentioned it and she wasn't, I know exactly what that is now. So it is hot and it comes quickly. That's all I gather. But, you know, the symptoms vary. Sometimes it can happen at the weirdest times. And I don't understand it myself, but.
Any change to urinary or sexual?
Absolutely. You will not have any libido, at least in my case, which is fine with me. I was wasting too much time anyway. So libido-wise, that cancels it out, okay? And then, what was the other part?
Urinary.
Urinary. Okay, I would say it helped. And I didn't take any of the doctor-prescribed Flomax or any other medication. The reason why I say it helps is because I only get up maybe twice a night, and then the stream seems a lot better and the volume seems a lot better. But I could just tell you, like it's about 4 to 6 ounces. I don't know. Did you measure testosterone? Well, initially it was right in the middle, okay, through Ulta Labs. But subsequent to that, that's a good question. I haven't, because I just assumed it's not there anymore, you know. And the doctor said that that's their whole goal, is to keep the testosterone from encouraging the prostate cancer.
Do you have any change in any pain level that you might have experienced before versus after starting the ADT?
Not that I would attribute to ADT. I just attribute it to old age, you know. But I noticed things are beginning to accelerate, you know, downward. But no pain or anything like that.
That's good. All right, yeah, one more question, and then we'll bring everybody up for, you know, wide-ranging questions.
Yeah, when you mentioned the PET scan, you didn't get specific as to whether it was PSMA or other tracer. You said you got a poor image from it, but with a PSMA, you would have gotten a better image than...
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't clarify that. With the PET scan, that the poor scan that I bought was the MRI. I paid Kaiser $25 for it, you know. But the PET scan is supposedly a much more detailed scan that they're trying to work on to make that almost as good as a biopsy. So that's their whole point.
But was that PET scan the PSMA? Did it use the PSMA contrast agent that?
I have to look in my records.
Okay.
I don't recall. But supposedly it's UCLA's latest. And
it might have been. Gene, is there another name for it? I know they call it Pylarify down here sometimes. Does Pylarify ring a bell with you at all?
I think the word fluorine rings a bell, but I don't know about the rest of that. Yeah.
Was it C11 fluorine before? Choline, yeah.
Well, the only reason why I suspect it was much better was I went in for a little emergency last year, you know. I had something going on, and the doctor said, we don't care about this problem. What are you doing about your cancer? He was like jumping up and down. And, you know, that's what clued me in, that he was pretty certain what it was.
All right, why don't we bring up Dennis and Carla again, and we'll have, you know, questions for all of the presenters.
Dennis, thank you. When you mentioned that you were given rejection on the, what was it, the...
Proton therapy and Decipher.
Yeah, and the fact that you couldn't get the proton therapy, and I'm a Kaiser patient. Fortunately, Kaiser Senior Advantage through UCSD retirement, and I was diagnosed way back in 2017 when I was still young at 67 years old, and now I'm a little older. But back then, we didn't have what's available as much today, and I wasn't given much choices. And I was fortunate to be outsourced to Dr. Rose, who has learned a lot since then, too. And he just said, you should go for external beam therapy. And I didn't want surgery, so I did. And he said, okay, we're going to give you 39 treatments. You come in so often, 5 days a week. And I said, 39 treatments? How do they come up with a number like that? Why not 40? He says, well, you want 40? I'll give you 40. I said, okay, I'll take 40. Because I'm a superstitious numerologist. And that's where we were then. And we didn't even have the PSMA scans then. We had barely got into Axiom Tracer. And it turned out that years later, I did get, when I got a PSMA, because my PSA was going up and down, I was given the advice after I did get treatment with ADT. And I did go for the proton treatment. And I read a lot about proton since then. And I've learned then that, yeah, it's more accurate and it doesn't affect other organs as much. But there's some disadvantages, too. And my cancer now has affected some lymph nodes that might have gone beyond the pelvic area. So that's where I am at. But I'm wondering, did they offer you any external beam? Or?
Yeah, after talking to my oncologist, he did say that, you know what, Dennis, if I can schedule you basically whenever you're ready. He said, we do send folks to proton therapy if I think it's really necessary for different kinds of cancer. He said, but in your case, I think you would benefit from the regular X-ray treatment. And then he showed me slides of how it affects other organs, and he was very reassuring. And also talking with Dr. Urbanski here at one of the meetings, who does the proton therapy for UCSD, he also said, yeah, in your case, you would probably be fine doing regular radiation, external beam therapy. So, and also I talked to Dr. Rose as well, and he was very helpful. But that's why I was also trying to get that Decipher test done, just to see how aggressive the cancer really is. Not yet. So that's I'm leaning towards that, the radiation treatment. But once again, I have to see if I get referred for that. I'm thinking, will it be approved? Based on my experiences so far. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
All right, let's take the next question.
Mine isn't really so much a question as a answer to a question that was answered earlier in regard to active surveillance, and the question was whether there were any regrets for anybody on active surveillance. And I'd like to just mention that I've been on active surveillance for over 14 years and have had no treatment of any kind. I was diagnosed with Gleason 3+3. So it's a complicated situation. But the other thing I would also like to mention is probably being turned down for proton is that is not commonly used for Gleason 3+3. That's really the issue. So they'll be happy to conveyor belt you into surgery, since that's been around forever. And then, of course, most of the IMRT, SBRT radiation treatments they'll be happy to do. But since proton costs twice as much, they're just not going to do it. So I just wanted to add that comment.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that's what I'm learning, basically. And actually, radiation treatment is getting much more focal. The radiation treatment, I've been told, is also progressed to being more focal, kind of like the proton is. So it seems like they're making advances in that therapy as well. So.
Next question here.
Thank you. I would just like to see a raise of hands on the folks in here that have metastatic cancer versus contained. Who has metastatic? Okay, and contained. Lucky fellas, you. All right, thank you.
All right, another question here?
Well, I have a comment. Or the lady with the exercise classes in North County. Okay. I live in the San Carlos del Cerro area for people who live in that area. I just want you to be aware that Tuesdays and Wednesdays at Temple Emmanuel, and this is through the Community College District and Jewish Family Service, for people who are not like big sportsmen who go up and climbing mountains. And they do have men in these classes, okay? You can get Tai Chi for seniors. All you have to be is 55 or over. You don't have to be of any religion, anything else, just have to be 55 and over. You can take Tai Chi through the Community College District on Tuesdays at 10-something, and on Wednesday you can take chair exercise. You can stand up and do it, and that's also around 10 o'clock, and then you can get lunch, which is a lot of whole wheat stuff. So keep that in mind, and you can give a donation, or it's free, and it's in the Del Cerro area. And if you want any more information, just speak to me. Thank you.
Great, thanks for sharing.
I had a question last week, I think a little bit of knowledge and a lot of misunderstanding in my brain. But when the proton, is that the same as ablation, where there could be a risk of not getting the whole tumor, where one that might be why it wouldn't be prescribed as being treated? I don't know who knows.
Well, I guess, are you asking if ablation is the same as the treatment from proton? I think of ablation, the term ablation being used more in focal therapies. Is that right, Gene? Yeah. So certainly with external beam and proton, they are trying to target the tumor and only the tumor as much as possible. Yes, they do make a margin around the tumor, trying to maximize minimize the chances of recurrence while minimizing the chances for collateral damage. Yeah. Next question. Who else would like to ask a question here? Front row.
For Dennis. So I'm an insurance agent. Well, at least I just sold my business, but in the medical side. So you talked in your talk about you've been with your physician for 20 years, and through that system, they can't get you a referral. Right. I would take the Socratic approach and say, think carefully about your cancer and its treatment, or your relationship with a doctor, which can never end because you could stay friends forever. Right. Think seriously about changing providers for medical services so you can get the attention you need. It's a tough decision because we all live for relationships. It's what makes us feel a part of a community, et cetera. I feel for you. Yeah. But you really need to think about that one. I would encourage you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I've been thinking about that.
You're quite welcome.
It's always possible. What's frustrating is I could wait till, another 3-4 years till I'm 65 and get Medicare, and they do cover something like that. Also, it's frustrating because other facilities do cover, that kind of therapy if that's something I want. So. Right.
This is a war game. Every one of us know that. Yeah. And depending upon how much work you do and how much research and reading you do and how much you become your own advocate, that's going to determine how big your war chest of tools and cannons or BB guns, if you're not doing much about it, exist in that cabinet when you need to open it up. So appeal is part of the process because it's your body. It's not the insurance companies. I know we all know that, but get that appeal going. And if you're not familiar with a proper way to write it, I'll give you my name and number, and there's maybe we can noodle it and get you some strength behind your appeal with some medical providers that can provide evidence, et cetera, and arguments in your appeal. So in other words, don't do it. It's not a DIY project. You should get some horsepower behind it. Yeah. Because you're looking for a yes answer.
Yeah, I have done some research, basically online, and I have read stories of people that have been denied and have actually have a lot of suggestions for what to put in an appeal. And I was amazed to find also there's actually proton therapy denial lawyers out there. It's quite sad actually, because some people they're recommended for this treatment, and unlike prostate cancer where you can actually wait, months or even years, there's people that need it and they're denied, and they can't wait that long. They need to have this done within, months or weeks, and they're still denied, that treatment.
Yeah, for those of you that were at the UCSD Patient Summit last weekend, there was a gentleman that was in the Kaiser system, and he mentioned all of the difficulties he's had in that system, and he did give me his contact information and offered his services, not really services, but, willing to give advice to anybody trying to deal with either Kaiser or other insurance companies, because he dealt with all sorts of, denials and so forth. And he's even married to a Kaiser physician, which is partially why he's not changing providers. But I seem to recall he was able to push through to get his own treatment. But yeah, it is a difficulty. When I was in my 20s, first getting car insurance and home insurance, I recall somebody saying, yeah, well, the playbook of insurance companies is deny the first request. It's just what they seem to do because they're in the business of not paying out money. And this gentleman last weekend did say that these insurance companies, they don't want their patients to become their clients to become disgruntled and make noise about all the denials, because then they kind of lose favoritism in the market perhaps. And so, yeah, it is once the patient gets involved with the appeal process and makes a lot of noise that, they will finally, capitulate. Yeah. Another question in the back here, then we'll go to the middle.
I'm recently diagnosed, and I have Dr. Bagrodia. Does anybody else in here have Dr. Bagrodia? Okay, one other. Okay. Is there any thoughts on who's good, who isn't good?
I have not had Dr. Bagrodia myself, but talked to him a little bit even last weekend, and I get the impression that he's an excellent doctor. He's in the UCSD system, and when Dr. McKay and Dr. Rose were treating me, they also said that when they move forward with plans for treatment, patients' cases are reviewed by the entire cancer board. So your case will actually end up getting seen by multiple doctors that we hear about as well. They do tend to make a decision by committee type of thing, and they do make excellent decisions, it seems. Sure.
In addition to all their time treating and being terrific oncologists, the reason they reach out and set that summit is a gift of their heart, and that's how dedicated they are. So that is a big testament how dedicated to the health of people. It's the same with Dr. McKay and the rest. So that's my testimony for the dude.
And we had a question in the middle here somewhere. Was it?
Dennis, did you research outcomes? Are they similar with X-ray, EBRT, and proton treatments?
Well, from what I've read, which is very limited, I know, one of the reasons I picked a proton treatment was the rate of recurrence later on down the road seemed to be much lower than regular radiation therapy. So that's one reason I was really interested in the proton. I mean, the radiation in most cases, I think, does fairly well. But, well, yeah, the reason I was looking at proton also was the rate of reoccurrence seems to be much lower. And then I also learned that a lot of the insurance companies, they're looking at, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like 12 months down the road. For reoccurrence, you might be talking 5 years down the road or 10 years. Insurance companies seem to be focused on 12 months. From what I've read anyway. So, take that for what it is.
All right, any other questions from the audience? All right, next one here.
This is for just some general comments, but relating to Dennis. One, I'd like to reiterate what the gentleman in front of me said about seeking out the best doctors that you can find, because it makes a big difference. And I can definitely speak from experience there, and it's a longer discussion, but you definitely want to seek out the best. The next is, I don't know if you mentioned if you did attend the Prostate Cancer Summit last weekend, did you?
Yeah, I wasn't able to attend that,
Okay.
unfortunately.
There's a lot of information that came out of that, and I know that all the slides are available. At least they said they were making them available, and I don't know if like a video or a YouTube or something is available of that. I have no idea, but if so, there's a lot of good information there. The other is, I was diagnosed in 2015. At the time, I had covered California. I was 61. I worked for myself, and that was actually the best insurance that I found available for me. I will tell you that phenomenal, at least my experience. I had, I think a good, you have different things you can select, but I selected one that I think was good. In fact, I ended up having my prostate removed. I had extensive hormone treatment, and I had radiation. And I think in some, I probably paid $4,000. Okay. I mean, it was very positive.
Yeah, that's good.
And most of my treatment was in New York, which even complicated it. But if and it seems you may be able to, all I can say from personal experience is that it was very favorable for me. Now I have Medicare, so that's. Anyway, those are just three things that I just thought would be helpful to mention. One other item, I was just curious on the external beam. If you have the external beam, can you then later, if there's a recurrence, have proton? Do you know?
I don't know about that. I think that is possible. Yes. I think you can. Yes. What I have learned is if you do have like a prostatectomy and you have reoccurrence later, you can get radiation treatment and probably proton. However, if you begin with radiation treatment, then you don't get a prostatectomy. If it comes back later, they won't do a prostatectomy later.
Yeah, and in general, you can't have radiation to the exact same place multiple times, but if there's like a metastasis somewhere, even somewhere nearby, they can direct the radiation specifically to that. And I don't know, I mean, I think that might be a case where proton actually exceeds external beam radiation for that, second time around. Not that I'm certain on that. Yeah. You are? Yeah.
Yeah, it's happening to me right now. So diagnosis in 17, prostatectomy, it was surgically removed. 6 months later, the PSA went from 0, started rising. We watched it for 5 months, started 38 treatments of radiation in October of 18, ended in December of 18. PSA went to 0. I'm making this really short and quick. PSA went to 0, where it stayed at 0 until November of 22. And since November of 22, it's just ticking up just like this, like 1/100th every, say, 3 months. So most recently, through a series of events, too long a story to do here, we found that there's a 2-millimeter metastasis in the perirectal region, a lymph node, which is near the radiation treatment area that I had those 38 treatments of radiation in. So it's not inside the primary treatment area, it is in that secondary area, and it's about the size of a BB. We found it through a PSMA PET scan, and we're going to use SBRT, 5 treatments, and because it's in that secondary area, we can do that. If it was in the primary area, no bueno, no way, Jose. So anyway, that's what I know today, and I'm going to start that in about 3 weeks.
So, Yeah, sometimes they call it nano knife or cyber knife, but it's typically the type of radiation treatment that's only about 5 or 8. Highly focused, high dosage, but you only do it just a few days, few treatments. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. How often would you have been able to, hear that experience outside of this group? Yeah, perfect. Any other questions? Okay, Patty.
Oh, no, it's not a question. If anybody filled out one of these forms, would you mind dropping it off to me before you leave?
Okay, let's take one last question and then wrap it up. Anyone have a question for Dawn or for Carla or Dennis again? All right, I guess we got all the questions answered.